Have you gotten a chance to see Victor Wembanyama yet?
Yeah, of course. How can you miss him?
He's been raised to be a star. You know, he's been raised for this.
The ceiling, there is none. Ceiling is go. I mean, seriously. Go? Yes.
The way his skills, the way he can shoot the ball, the way he can move, he's extremely fast for his size, can block shots. He has the chance to be one of the best to ever play this game.
This is a weapon unlike anything this league has seen.
Look at how much bigger he is than Rudy Gobert.
That's the scariest thing that we've ever seen.
And a player who is going to dominate this league like maybe only a couple players have ever done.
With the first pick,
Victor Wembanyama had more hype than any NBA prospect. Not only did Woj say Defensive Player of the Year will be renamed the Wemby, he called him the greatest prospect in sports history. But in mid-November, Chet Holmgren took the lead for Rookie of the Year. Wemby had just played his statistically worst game of the year against Chet. And right then, Wemby gets injured and has his minutes drastically reduced. The Spurs go on a franchise record losing streak. But somehow, Wemby took the lead back and left no doubt who's the best rookie this season. So just how good was Wemby's first year in the NBA, and how did he overcome the other 7-foot unicorn halfway through? Well, first of all, LeBron said that nickname shouldn't even apply to Vic.
We're labeling like this unicorn thing. Everybody's been a unicorn over the last few years, but he's more like an alien.
He played on American soil for the first time with his French team against Scoot Henderson and proved LeBron right. It's not his height that makes him generational, it's how he plays with it. Quick feet and hands, Kevin Durant high release, paint moves like Joel Embiid with elite defense. And NBA scouts said, simply put, he could be Gobert defensively, Porzingis offensively, with passing skills like Jokic. Dude is 19 years old. We have seen players crumble under that kind of pressure. Ben Simmons, Andrew Wiggins, so not everyone was buying the hype.
I don't think he's actually I don't think he's a better prospect than LeBron was.
I don't agree with all that. I think it's going to be a huge adjustment.
Is this the most excited you've ever been about a rookie?
Not even close.
People still doubted the transition from Europe and his body. Wemby is listed at 7'3", but is closer to 7'5". And this century, we've only had 2 players 7'1" or taller impact the league. Kristaps Porzingis and Yao Ming, both with career-altering injuries. But Wemby took extreme measures to prevent that. His dream was to be the first rookie All-Star in 13 years and lead the Spurs back to the playoffs. But quickly, he learned what life in the NBA is really about. But first, his preseason debut against his old rival Chet Holmgren. 1 year earlier, USA and France were in the U19 World Cup final. France had never been this far, and Wemby was dominating. 22 points, 8 boards, and 8 blocks, but he fouled out late defending Chet. USA pulled off a 2-point win. France could have won if their best player was available. To make it worse, Chet won the gold medal and tournament MVP. To this day, Wemby calls it the worst moment of his basketball life. So it was personal in the preseason. He barreled into Chet and flexed his muscles. Chet responded with big plays, but Wemby was an optical illusion. Stretched out from the 3-point line to strip a guy in the lane, dunked on Thomas Bryant 4 nights later, had him looking helpless. Next game, he nutmegged a Rockets player like a 6-foot guard. So 3 million people tuned in for his regular season debut, the most in 11 years, but they were all disappointed. Vic is wide open with small Kyrie Irving guarding, but Doug McDermott doesn't even see him. Passes to Malachi Branham, so Wemby runs out, can't get a look. Then, late in the game, Luka loses Wemby on defense, but Jeremy Sohan passes elsewhere for a turnover. So, last chance for something. Wemby breaks free. Zach Collins puts the game in Devin Vassell's hands, who gets blocked. Wemby didn't touch the ball the last 3 minutes of the game. Still, his debut jersey went to a collector's auction, expected to get from $80 to $120K. It sold for $762,000. NBA fans knew his potential, but not his own teammates? Well, their next game was in Houston, and Wemby had to make a statement. Late in the fourth, Rockets going for the dagger, but Wemby blocks Jabari Smith, who gets his own board, but Wemby recovers for another block. The Spurs won their first game in overtime, but he was about to face a much better group of players. The Spurs had back-to-back games in Phoenix. The Suns led the entire first night before Wemby caught fire. Elbow jumper with 46 seconds left. Then he puts back Vassell's missed three. So the Suns inbound with 7 seconds to go, but KD doesn't see Keldon Johnson, who wins the game. The next night, Vic goes on a 12-2 run for 38 points and another win. The Spurs look like a young playoff team, but were about to collapse because of a problem that almost ruined Wemby's season. Greg Popovich has always been ahead of the curve. He was the first to heavily scout overseas players and won championships. He pioneered the corner three shot, which took over the league. Pop knows the NBA is getting bigger. The Nuggets dominated last year by overpowering the smaller Heat. So if he could turn 6'8" Jeremy Sohan into a point guard, it would be great in the taller NBA. Jeremy had an IQ for passing, like a Draymond Green, but he had never played the position before. So Wemby, wide open for three, but Sohan, tunnel vision, takes a wild contested fadeaway. Against the Wolves, literally looks at Wemby, but misses the handoff for a stupid foul. And other teams' announcers started to notice.
Ooh, they missed a lot on Wemby. They were looking for Wembanyama. Misses badly. Yeah, that was a terrible miss. I don't know how you miss a 7'4" guy. Yeah, how do you exactly
I just
not
don't
see him in your
understand
field of
that.
vision?
Man, it's almost like his team is reluctant to throw it to him.
The Spurs lost on November 5th to the Raptors and didn't win another game for 43 days. People begged Coach Pop to end the Sohan experiment. Wemby was starting to look overrated on offense. He had embarrassing misses all over the court. From three, he was hitting 28%, settling for these contested mid-range jump shots and not hitting. Young Kevin Durant? No. Anyone could overpower this kid. Here, Wemby catches it with smaller Grant Williams guarding and Kyrie for help, but instead of a drive, he spins to a fadeaway. This is all normal for a 19-year-old, by the way, but he was supposed to be different. Chet Holmgren was the actual rookie sensation. While the Spurs struggled, OKC destroyed teams. Chet hit a game winner against the Warriors, and by mid-November, they jumped to second place. That same week, the Spurs and Thunder played for the first time. Wemby scored 8 points with 5 turnovers. According to GameScore, his worst game all year. Chet had been closing the gap for Rookie of the Year, but then he passed Wemby up. Chet won Rookie of the Month for November, then December, then it got worse. Wemby missed his first game of the year with hip tightness, and 2 weeks later, steps on a ball boy's foot warming up. His ankle was already bothering him, and you could see on his face this was bad. Spurs doctor said he could only play 20-ish minutes a night, while Chet had 30 plus. So how did Wemby take back Rookie of the Year with everything against him? Well, the first thing was moving Sohan off point guard, obviously. The other thing, Wemby hated. It goes back to a 2019 showcase he played with France. I had literally zero responsibility. I never had the ball. The coach played me at center. I was really frustrated. I knew it wasn't gonna go well, and it didn't. But Pop didn't care. He put Wemby at center against the Bulls, who had a 20-point, 20-rebound game. No other 19-year-old had ever done that. He started playing with confidence. A finger roll dunk that made Derek White look like a little kid. A one-legged three runner, of course it goes in. But the next game was his 20th birthday against the Bucks, and Wemby planned something special. Sheds Giannis off a screen, and with a clear lane, off the backboard to himself for the dunk. Then, in transition to get past Dame, why not just behind the back for a dunk? Brook Lopez fouls him for an and one. But in a 3-point game, one-on-one against Giannis, Wemby blocks the Greek Freak with alien arms. The Bucks won, but Wemby kept making viral plays. His first triple-double was against the Pistons, 16-12 with 10 assists in 21 minutes, the second fastest triple-double of all time. A freaky long sham god on Rudy Gobert, elite handles to a step-back three over Jarrett Allen, blocks where he's chasing a player down or he doesn't even have to jump. Pretty embarrassing for the other guy. Wemby was closing the gap back on Chet and was ready for their next matchup. The two were virtually tied for Rookie of the Year before tip-off. Wemby looked to score every time he faced Chet. At one point, Chet checked in, so Wemby jumped to get in the game, but the ref stopped him. You could see the frustration on his face. Didn't want to miss a single play against his rival. So the minute he gets in, Wemby dunks all over Chet and stares him down. In fact, he took just 3 triples to punish him in the post. Watch Vic slam on Chet's head, but Chet refuses to react. Looked like Chet was afraid of the matchup, while Vic couldn't get enough. It wasn't just the highlights or the stats, it's the internal fire that guys like Kobe or MJ had. It's why players like Ben Simmons crumble under that pressure that Wemby clearly wants. So even though the Spurs lost, Wemby retook the lead for Rookie of the Year. But it wasn't over. A nasty disease was about to strike. While Chet was surrounded by elite teammates, playing a supporting role, Wemby was carrying the Spurs. Without Vic, they were the 5th worst offense and dead last on D. But after the point guard switch, 19th offense, number 2 defense with Wemby on the court. He was used to that responsibility in France, but they only play about 1 game per week over there. In the NBA, it was 7 games and 11 nights sometimes. After battling Chet, Wemby had 19 turnovers in 3 games. He said, it was just allergies bothering him, but days later, he got just 5 boards in 2 nights. Was Wemby hitting the rookie wall? It plagues many a rookie who aren't ready for the NBA grind. Well, Wemby was about to shut down not only that question, but the entire NBA. He showed up to the Raptors arena wearing a Spider-Man Noir fit and dropped a radioactive stat line. The first rookie triple-double with 10 blocks in 34 years. 2 weeks later in LA, a very rare 5x5 game. Just the 15th 5x5 in NBA history. But when Wemby was asked how it felt to join Michael Jordan as the only rookies to have 5 blocks and steals in back-to-back nights, he said, I wonder if he did it in a win. Vic couldn't save the Spurs no matter what he did, but he was about to have his final shot against Chet. If there's one play that defines Wemby's season, it happened in this game. The Thunder came in, winning their last 6 by double digits, and Chet was on fire. Made Wemby look silly, outscoring him 11-2 in the first quarter. Then, Vic hit back. But it was a 3-point game with 3 minutes left, and Wemby took over. A deep 3 over the outstretched arms of Holmgren. Then another. But the game came down to Chet versus Wemby one-on-one. Vic was so hyped, he screamed at his bench, and after the win was straight emotional. So Wemby ended the debate for Rookie of the Year, but in his final 22 games, he made the case for something even bigger. According to GameScore, that OKC game was his 5th best all year. The next night, number 3, 31.6 blocks against the Pacers. He then stacked 4 more in under a month, including number 1. Wemby showed how far he's come against the Knicks. Hit 4 of 9 triples for 40 points and 20 boards. Jalen Brunson had 61, but didn't get the game ball because after the Spurs win, Vic threw it into the stands, caught by a local high school kid. Not only was Wemby fined $25,000, but officials took the ball from the fan. Vic heard about this and invited the kid for another game to make up for it that turned out to be the most exciting night of the year. With weeks to go in the season, sports books stopped taking bets on Rookie of the Year. It was that obvious, but still had Defensive Player of the Year. Rudy Gobert was a huge favorite, minus 2,400. That makes sense because he anchored the number 1 or 2 defense all year. The Spurs finished 8th from bottom, but some think Wemby got robbed. When you compare him to other Defensive Player of the Year candidates, it's not close. He leads in every category. Look at his defensive on-off. The Spurs are the worst D in the league without him. The last 15 games were insane. Their defensive rating was 106 with Wemby, number 1 in the NBA. And in his last 15 games, he turned it up, including against the defending champs. After scoring 17 points in 3 minutes to get back in the game, Wemby draws the charge on Nikola Jokic. Then, 3-point game with 2 to play. Blocks Joker. That leads to a fast break and Spurs within 1, which lets Devontae Graham hit a game winner. It was the last night of Wemby's rookie season, and he took that ball to that high school kid with a note that said, Sorry you couldn't keep the other ball. Hope this works too. So Wemby finished the season with 254 blocks and 88 steals. Compare that to Defensive Player of the Year winners back to Draymond Green. Wemby is in a league of his own. So if that award goes to the most impactful defender, it should go to Wemby. It's not the MVP award with team success. So Wemby is already the best defender in the world as a rookie. If you throw in his offensive growth, was this the best rookie season of all time? Well, he's just the 10th NBA player to average 20 points, 10 boards, and 3 blocks in a year. The other 9 were all Hall of Famers in their prime. So Hall of Fame production in under 30 minutes a game? We just saw the greatest rookie in NBA history. Next up for Wemby is the Olympics in France and possibly a big trade. The Spurs are open to bringing in another star, and this is a look at all the possibilities.